and welcome to the Birchal Podcast. My name is Emily Macfarlane. I am your host, and today I'm lucky enough to be joined by the founders of Bhumi. We've got the whole Baravkar family here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having us. We're Team Bhumi, excited to be here.
I'm loving the matching tracksuits. I'm almost a little bit jealous, and by almost I mean I'm very jealous. You all look so comfortable and cozy. It's so great to have you. I'd love to hear a little bit about the Bhumi story. Where did you come from, and what inspired you to start the Bhumi brand?
I'll start with that one. So Bhumi actually means Mother Earth in Sanskrit, and initially, so my background is in health. So I was a pediatric nurse here at the Royal Children's Hospital, got into health promotion and international public health because I loved the interactions between mothers and children. So that was my sort of niche area. I had big plans in my head that, with my public health, I'll go to Africa, but the universe sent me to India, and that's where I stayed. And initially I was just doing all these health initiatives, but that's where I saw the truth behind the textile industry. So I thought I knew at the time. I was based in New York. I thought I knew all about organic food and cosmetics, and I was like, yeah, everything's good. Then I learnt about what's going on with cotton and the textile industry. So learning about all the toxic dyes that are put into textiles, the child labour, unethical work conditions, and so many other issues that it was almost like peeling back an onion of wow. And so it kind of fractured my whole thinking of the textile industry and what I was doing and my part to play. So I then, like anything that breaks, you put it back together and you grow. So then the idea of Bhumi came along, and I spent some time in the field working with learning about what are the options for organic textiles, so organic cotton, and it grew from there. So yeah, it's taken a while to find the options out there that are against the whole conventional side of the textile industry.
How long ago did you start Bhumi?
So the seed was planted, I think, when I was working with some of the NGOs in India, and even across our travels, both Dushyant and my personal travels across India. So the seed's always sort of been there, but it was like how to do that. So we officially registered the business in 2018 and just have gone strength to strength, because I think the rising conscious consumerism is really driving the agenda, and the agenda by the younger generation too, that are asking questions and they want to know the answers. They want the transparency. They want to know what's the impact on the planet, what's the impact on humans. And so I think this surge in conscious consumerism has really driven the agenda since 2018.
Yeah. Obviously, you're both parents, and this, drive towards healthy things that you put on your skin is a huge benefactor in what you do. What does that mean to you as not only business founders, but, having children yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I'll give you a sort of a live example of what's going on at the moment in that context. We are obviously doing the equity raise at the moment, and we are calling up people and following up with them. And through those conversations, we are also asking, like, what's the motivation for you to be part of the fundraise or be supporting us? And there is a lot of references to children. Everything is about family, and everything is about children and their children. And then it's really fascinating. Very few conversations are around like commercials. Most conversations are about the future and what will our children see. And another very interesting example I thought was, I called up one of the, as you do when you're raising capital, some high net worths, let's say. And I said, would you be interested? And he said, yes, yeah. I said, why? Because you've always been in tech. And he's like, yeah, I want to know when I'm 95 and my, kids are like, have their own cage. We want to see what the world looks like, and we want to make a difference. And those are the conversations we have a lot in our family, extended family, and so on. And it's also about like not just what you sleep on or what you wear, but obviously what you put in your on your skin or what you put in your body. And yeah, it's a very
I think to add to that, the big conversation, not only amongst ourselves, me as a mother, but with the community at large, is what toxic chemical exposure are we exposing our bodies to? And it's not just, because we see home as three things. You've got the earth, that's our home, we all share it. Our homes that we go home to, so creating that toxic-free sanctuary, but also your body is your home. And I think the conversations that we've had with a lot of customers as well that come into the store, now that we've got the stores open, which is fantastic, post-COVID world, opening up stores has been amazing for that dialogue, just about the chemical exposure and that isn't talked about when it comes to textiles and the toxic dyes. So, and as a personal note, as a mother, I'm very aware, and what I would want for my child, I would want everyone to have that. So not to have the chemical exposure because I think just the health impacts coming from a health background, knowing what it's doing, not only to the earth, the waterways, the air, the land, but then the people in it, from the farmers right through to us as consumers, that whole seed to shelf journey, and just to be able to share that with people and share the truth behind the textile industry.
Absolutely. Interestingly, we actually interviewed for the podcast the founders of Vahi, which is a perfume brand which has all natural ingredients, because there is a whole ugly side to the fragrance industry that has a lot of phytochemicals that are going into people's bodies through their skin. Can you give us a little bit of information on the chemicals that are absorbed via your skin from textiles?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important point. Your skin, to start off with, is the thinnest membrane in your body. And it takes, when it's warm, it takes only 6 seconds when the pores open up for anything that you're exposing it to go into your body, into your bloodstream. So with the textile industry, we're dealing with a lot of very toxic chemicals classified by WHO that are causing not only hormonal issues, headaches, migraines, eczema, like all these skin problems, lung problems, respiratory problems. So it's aldehyde, some very toxic formaldehydes, and a lot of textiles put finishing chemicals on top to make it look shiny. And so we don't use any finishes, we don't use any toxic chemicals, and you can still have a beautiful product without any of that toxic.
It is unfortunate that when in textiles, when you go and start making purchases, especially for things like bed sheets or things that you sleep on, or towels and so on, when you obviously the instant first thing you do is like touch the sheets, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna feel amazing and it's soft, and I think that's usually, I'm not saying always, but usually the reason why it feels so soft and nice instantly is because there is a layer of chemicals. So if you had to take that and test it in a lab, you will see a whole layer of all these toxic chemicals, which is again counterintuitive, because it's like, it's felt so good, so it must be good, but not always. And I think this is there is a big educational aspect about this that needs to happen. And that's something we are extremely passionate about as well. And things like, say, underwear, for example, there's huge implications of wearing like essentially plastic around. Around so it's the awareness is there, but I think there is a long way to go. I think people think our experience is like. When, say, you're referring to our times in New York, I used to live right across the Time Warner Center for the longest time then. And I used to always wonder the Whole Foods organic store there. It's huge. And I used to always wonder, like, this is in my 20s. So I used to always wonder, like, why are people paying 3 times the money for like a piece of bread or to eat? And that's actually something that sparked my interest. Like, okay, there must be some benefits to this. Like, people are not silly. Obviously, that store is like, huge, and there's so many products. And the sequence was like, people always think about first, generally speaking, what they eat.
Right.
And that's instant, and you can see that reflected in the Whole Foods chain as well. Most of their products started off with like fruits, vegetables, and so on. Then generally it's what they put on the skin, which is cosmetics. That's why the organic cosmetic industry is actually quite mature. Not always right, but it's like there, and there are so many good options. And then it comes to what you wear.
Yeah.
So that's the sequence we have observed in this whole organic thing, and textiles is kind of catching up.
Yeah, it's pretty scary to think about, and I think there's not a lot of education around it, particularly for, the older generation, us. So hopefully what you guys are looking to achieve is going to be passed on to the younger generation, and I'm sure for you, this is really interesting, seeing what your parents do every day. Is this something that you would talk to your friends about?
For sure. Like, I really care about the planet, and I'm passionate about, creating a better environment for like everyone to live in. And I think that this is a really cool thing. And like, I do love bringing awareness and, just talking about it. And like, I just think that it's so cool to have a solution that's, like beneficial. And
Absolutely. I love that you guys have brought the whole family, by the way. This is fantastic, and we never get to have a whole family affair. So this is beautiful.
It's great.
When we go to her science exhibitions and when she's doing projects and stuff, most of the things that, especially what you do, Shaila, obviously, is around this theme of sustainability and organic. And when we also observe neutrally, like what your friends are doing, there's so many projects and cool ideas and future things about sustainability and saving the world, and protecting the world, and so on. So it's actually amazing to see.
Yeah.
And I think like having Shai, it's kind of like driving our agenda as well, that her questions and her asking us always make sure that we're on point, to make sure that there's the balance between the Earth initiatives, but also the humanitarian aspect as well. So, and for her also animals, it's a big one, because I think it's important to listen to the changes and how we can help without hurting or harming anything. So
Yeah, I'm sure you've got a very unfair advantage at Careers Day. So I think it's incredible to see what you're doing around protecting people who are using your products. But equally, I think it's really incredible to see what you're doing in terms of the people who are making your products. How important is that to you?
Extremely important. So I'll just say, like, I think that's the thing that really started my journey on this, when you're working with people in villages and you're hearing the stories, and it just peels back that there's a reality that we didn't know about, that is not in mainstream media. And I think for me, it's something that once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. So it's, what can we do that makes sure so we're very strict from seed to shelf, using GOTS certified organic cotton, making sure that right from the beginning journey of the seed going into the pesticide-free soils through to the end product, that any touch point any human has along the supply chain, it's always beneficial, not harmful, because I think, unfortunately, the textile industry, what's really big is unethical labour practices. As we've seen with the Rana Plaza, it really brought out some topics that nobody really talked about before, as well as child labour. Unfortunately, the conventional cotton industry, child labour is rife, and we, especially with Shai, we are very passionate about every child deserves an education, every child deserves that ability to not be exposed to these things. So
Yeah.
it's very important at any point that we work with certified fair trade factories just to make sure that everyone has that right.
Yeah, and also as just as from a governance angle, we do make sure that this is not just on paper and some certifications that are published and we issue it to our customers and use it as marketing. We'll make it a habit to go on a regular basis to where the factories are, speak to the employees directly. Last year, we actually went on a trip to the actual farms where, of course, a lot of the cotton is sourced from it's a band of more than 20,000 farmers. So we didn't go to all the farms, but where the majority of the farming, organic cotton farming happens. And we went to the soil because organic is basically, first the soil has to be organic, then everything else. And we spoke to the folks there and the families there. And so the point is, one thing is, making claims and saying we have, all this certification. And the other thing is to actively be involved behind the scenes and also do your independent audits and checks and ensure that the people in the supply chain are actually being treated fairly, paid properly, and all the other things that the fair trade organization expects are also implemented. So we take a lot of pride in that. And another thing I'll say is, although we are all about organic cotton, a huge portion of our customer base, and this has taken us by surprise a little bit, a huge portion of our customer base is not driven by organic at all. They are not, yes, it is organic, great, but they are actually more driven by the fact that there is no child labor and all the people in that supply chain are treated fairly. So maybe some of them don't even know that the product is actually organic. They have just bought it because it's, and we portray that we don't hide anything. We, as you have seen, in our socials, we are pretty open. And also behind the scenes, where I was going with my point on last year's trip, entire team interacted with villagers and the farmers and so on. So we captured all that and we show it. And if someone asks any of our customers or inquirers, want to know where we make stuff or how we make stuff and where it is, we are always showing them the behind the scenes. So it's very close to the actual action that's happening on the ground.
Amazing. I know, Vinita, you're a really big advocate for women in the workplace and women having education and jobs.
Yes.
Was that a really big driver for you when you went to visit the villages that you are working with?
Absolutely. And I think, again, it stems from my initial discovery of the whole textile industry because one of the impacts with the cost of the cotton or, conventional cotton, genetically modified seeds is there's a global, unfortunately, problem with farmer suicides and the impact of that, especially on the women. It was devastating. But those stories stayed with me. And again, like my mum's always taught me, you turn a positive with everything that you have or you encounter, you turn it into a positive. So the positive is taking their stories, watching their strength and saying, yes, every woman deserves to be treated fairly at whatever point, whether it's working conditions or, giving opportunities. And we're very lucky with people that we work with. We say they're family now. It's just like an extended family, that a majority of women are employed, which is fantastic. And we saw, again, drawing on what Dee was talking about, in one area, very remote villages, they'd organise buses every single day to collect every woman in the district, and we're talking zones, hours to get there. But everyone was picked up, brought, and there's food that's given, and everyone's taken back home. So it's, just beautiful to see just that empowering women, uplifting women, but just to make sure that we see each other with respect. Every sentient being deserves respect, and I think that's where we stand. That there's that recognition for everyone.
I also like the fact that the salaries are deposited in the woman's account. So it's something that's very interesting thing in some of the countries where the woman obviously works, but the partner can sometimes just take that.
Wow.
So that's these sort of sometimes technology can be used to advantage, right? Where you have the digitization and every person has an account, and the woman who's actually putting in the hours are getting paid. Obviously, what happens after that is not. That's an individual case-to-case basis, but at least implementing something like that is a big social. It takes a lot of courage to implement these sort of things at a big scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think knowledge is power in this sense, and a lot of people I don't think know about that. I mean, for me, that is news to hear that, it is something that's at the forefront for you to make sure that the women who are working are actually receiving the money in their bank accounts, and that's really empowering. And particularly for the next generation, I think that that's so incredible for them. It's not something that I grew up with knowing. And do you find that for you, it changes what your career outcomes are going to be? And do you want to work in the family business going forward?
So I am obviously passionate about the environment and especially animals, and I love just caring for the planet in every way. But my interest is actually in veterinary science.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So not exactly textiles, but
we are working on a dog range, but anyway, that's to come. Driven by Shyla. So
But I love visiting the factories in India. I just find it really actually interesting, like learning about the seed to shelf process and like learning about this textile industry and like the different things that we don't know about.
I think one of the things that I remember was very amazing for Shyla when we went is one of our biggest partners. They actually have a program for street dogs. So that's where we found Shyla the whole time, because they actually had a lot of them that were, attacked, and they were looking after them. So Shyla was like in, heaven. That I love these guys, Mummy. These are amazing, because looking after animals is important. But I think it melted all of our hearts to see as we entered the first person to greet us was the dog called Sitara, which means stars, and she had been attacked, and they looked after her, and then there was a whole compound. We just walked in, and there's all these beautiful street dogs being looked after and fed, and so we thought, oh wow, this is really good. So yeah, it's important, and just drawing on an animal aspect, I think as a business, our ethos is working with organic cotton and organic linen, and being able to see firsthand as well that you can use things that are natural in the environment, like, cow dung, cow manure, that is your natural pesticides and natural fertilizer for the soil. We use flowers to repel the bees instead of chemicals, or attract certain insects that will help pollinate the cotton. So it's working with nature, and I think that's the most amazing and exciting thing for all of us, that every day we learn something new. But in this journey of the textiles, that there's so many things from nature that we can lean on and work with that helps nature help itself. So, and we just feel that, wow, we're a part of that, as opposed to recreating something that's synthetic, that we can be a part of nature and work with her.
Can I just add something about what Shyla said? Almost every week I ask her at least once, would you like to be involved in the business? Because she does cover the store. You probably know pretty much everything about the fabrics store. I mean, she has a day formally covering the store, with interacting with customers independently, and she's 13. So we are very proud of her. And so, which is why I always ask, would you be interested? and it's always a no. So it's pretty clear where she wants to go, and I ask her why. It's too stressful. So the whole aspect of yes, there is the love for the business, but I think what she also experiences running a business and doing all these right things is a lot of work and so I think I'm glad actually, because you want to maintain that work-life balance, which is a great thing. And my advice is always about going back to the bank accounts thing. As anyone, but particularly as a woman, financial independence is extremely important. So whatever you do, that is something that's key. But yeah, so far it's a no from her.
Well, I'm pretty sure when I was 13, a puppy as a bribe could have got me to do anything. So maybe keep that one in mind.
Yes, we will.
So another factor of your business, so it's pretty incredible to see how many touch points you have in terms of your missions and objectives. But it's, making textiles that are actually good for the environment and, not using chemicals and using nature to harness those. What do you see are the main environmental impacts that other textile companies have and that most people are unaware of?
Well, I think the greenwashing aspect is huge. I think that's the most challenging and frustrating battle. It is not you usually think that it's actually education and awareness, and the customers are very stubborn, and they want to spend more, and it's the beauty of having physical stores is you get feedback directly from so many people. It's actually, people are always, if informed correctly and making things convenient for them, they will usually make the right decision. I think the problem with these huge corporations and brands and so on that's there, and the aspect of greenwashing, it's very, very, very difficult. The reason for, and an example of this is a consumer wants to make a good choice, and somewhere, like a huge brand maybe, have 1% of their product line, let's say, which might be organic or sustainable or whichever angle you want to take, but it's probably not like, the mainstream polyester, whatever, right, in the realm of textiles. But that 1% of product line is made to be so big that almost it starts to feel for a consumer that 99% of everything is also correct, which is where especially people who are hard pressed for time, online, people get sucked into it. And people fall for it. And this is why there is not much change happening in this space. I think people are just getting sucked into the whole greenwashing aspect of it. And this is why, not to get too scientific about all this stuff, but when you look at the environmental targets that the UN has set, and, nothing is moving in the right direction, right? It's either stagnant or going the other way. And fashion industry is probably the second highest contributor to this. And so this, this is what we are
so
grappling
true.
against.
Like just for the CO2 emissions alone, the textile industry is the second largest contributor to that. Wow. And the other thing that, like Dee was saying, when you talk about greenwashing, we've seen a rise of it post-COVID, that every business wants to say it's natural or it's pure fabric, and there's certifications out there that allow that wording to be used, but that's why we've gone strict certifications. So we see many companies that say, we use less pesticides, we use fewer pesticides.
Then
zero, with zero can be done. It is like all of our products are with zero pesticides, and it's beautiful to know that it can be done. So we're very passionate about that education and awareness piece, but just from an environmental aspect, it's incredible that, as Dee's saying, the needle hasn't moved, and we need to help move that needle. And textile industry is one of the biggest contributors to it. So
For consumers who are passionate about this and do want to make a change, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them when choosing products? It might be bedding, it might be clothing. What would you say that they should be looking out for when making those choices?
I think do your research, ask questions. Don't get swayed too easily. And I understand that's very difficult in this, we are all very hard pressed for time. No one has really that much time to do research on stuff and things like that. But it's worth it. One of the biggest reasons why we are opening stores, and also one of the reasons why we are also raising capital, is we want to invest in stores. And why we want to invest in stores is it actually cuts out all this gimmicky marketing online, which can be amazing and everyone gets sucked into it at some point in time, and make it convenient for consumers to come in and ask questions. It's much easier. That's why we love, it's not about us, but it's more about the customers. But the reason why we are in the stores, it's like you ask us, there's no filter, nothing and I think we encourage that and customers love that. And I think we would say the same thing that, like do your research. Like, if you are going to these big brands or whatever, we're not like anti-big brand or anything. We want to be a big brand. But whoever you shop from, ask questions. Don't just blindly start shopping. And this is applicable for everything, right? Like food, cosmetics, and definitely textiles.
I love that because, as Dee's saying, we encourage dialogue because, like everything in life, ask the questions. It's the one piece of advice that if I ever give to anyone at a talk or in store or to Shaila, ask questions, find out who made it, where was it made, how was it made. The how is a really big one because that's where the whole processing of a textile can happen. And if it's synthetic, that's where all the chemicals go in. And it's just really important to ask those questions and the impact as well. Ask the questions of what's the impact on the planet, what's the impact on humanity, what's the impact on me. And it's amazing what you find out.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys as business owners have achieved some really incredible milestones to date. Your revenue's looking incredible. You've got stores, you've got huge product lines. What do you think the key is to your success?
I think we are getting started, but your words are very kind and thank you.
Thank you.
I think we've just stuck to our vision. You are like when you asked earlier, when did you start? And yes, we did register in 2018, but we always had all these ideas of we should do this and we should do that. And at some point we had written down a vision, around 10 years back, we need to, it was come home to nature or something along those lines. And we, every time we have some sort of let's revisit this. And we always keep coming back to that same original vision. And it's the same. It's the vision is the same. Yes, the products, the solutions, the lines, the ranges have changed, but the vision and the why of this is exactly the same, and it still is the same. So maybe people over time, these things never happen overnight or after your first purchases. These things always happen over time. And I think people see that. I think last I counted, it was something like 105,000 customers or something.
Wow.
And we see, people coming in. I mean, I serve customers every day. You do, Shaila does on Sundays. People come in, people hug us, and people are like, oh, you guys changed our lives. I was also saying to you, when we are doing the follow-ups on, hey, would you like to invest? And, not a single, especially customer, not a single customer has until now asked, and we've made thousands of calls, show me your stats. And they are usually, we remember you from the beginning, love your products, you guys are the same. You changed you improved my sleep. I had skin condition. You solved it. Really genuine. That's it. We just kept it simple. I think I think it's consistent to how we started and where we are today, and hopefully it will be the same.
No, it's so true, and it's very humbling with those calls that we're making to hear that as well. I love that. That's the big thing. I think we both bring different things to the table, but the biggest thing that's the common element is heart. When you do something with your heart and with love and passion, that's what guides you. So
true. And
Absolutely.
I shouldn't be saying when we are raising funds that do only things with heart and no brain. But honestly, the biggest milestones or the biggest support that we have received, and I'm pretty sure what we will receive, has actually nothing to do with the financials nor the products. It's to do with, hey, I know your heart is in it. And I'll tell you this real story. A couple of days back, the guy saw us on socials, and anyways, he decided to visit the store, and we had some common. He had literally never heard of us before. He just like, oh wow, okay. And then we caught up. Obviously, his partner loved some of the products, and then she made the purchase. And he's like, well, we had a coffee, and he's like, I'm interested in investing. And it was a pretty large number. I said, wow, man, is this real? When he just, saw us the day before, and why? I was like, why do you want to invest? He's like, I can tell your heart is in this. He's like, I said, why? How can you tell? I'm a bit cynical character. I was like, how? Tell me how. He's like, if you are willing to roll on the street, and if
The marketing is impeccable.
so, and I think, that's always been consistent, because I think we don't. So hopefully it stays that way. I'm pretty sure it will stay that way. I mean, people don't generally change. I don't think I'll change much in general, but yeah, the heart is there. So I think that's the short answer to your question. I think we feel that is there. We should continue that, because the customers also reciprocate the same way.
So you're doing a crowd fund. What does it mean to you to bring your customers and the crowd along for your journey?
I think having the community, and especially just talking to people and doing the calls lately, has been, as I mentioned, so humbling just to hear again that love come through the phone. But it's having community behind us, that we're walking together on this journey. And I think that's the big thing, that when you walk together on something and you all got that shared common vision, common purpose, it's just bringing it all together, that we are together, we can make an impact on the planet. Like we look at when we talk about environmental initiatives and things and stats and where we are with the needle, can we change, and living on that hope that together, yes, we can. And I think when you have that community behind you, which is what we're hearing and seeing, even in the stores, it's just incredible. It gives you that extra momentum to let's keep going, let's keep doing this bigger and better, and together we can do better. That's how I feel.
Honestly, I know I'm on a Birchal podcast, so this is not like a plug or anything, but choosing to raise funds through Birchal, and we have not even raised anything. We actually should go live next week or whenever. So nothing has happened in theory, but just choosing to raise funds through Birchal has probably been one of the best decisions. I can easily, even you will attest to it. We've had so much fun. And I come from a financial services, hardcore financial services background. I've been on the other side. Fortunately, I've had so many friends who are so wealthy and well-to-do and in the financial services space, because they make investments, and making investments in companies is what they do for a living. And we could have easily chosen that path. Nothing is ever that easy, but we could have easily chosen that. And we've always talked about it. And Vinita has always been a little bit anti, that, because a lot of things can change. And we always debated this. But we said, just stick to the simple principle that we love what we do. We want to do more. So people who allow us to do what we do should always get the first right of refusal. Simple. If people got us to this point, then we have to give back to the people. We have, meaning there is no reason not to. And yes, if we fall short or something like that, then that's a different story. Luckily, you have options. So yeah, giving back to the customers has been, and choosing Birchal as one of the platforms today has been extremely rewarding. I'm very happy. And those conversations that we've had in the past has now further strengthened that belief that, without customers and without their support, you can't actually do much. So I'm already, thinking 12 months from now, 18 months from now. But it's the best decision in terms of funding so far. So.
Yeah. Oh, you guys almost got me a little bit emotional there. I feel like I can really tell that you're so passionate about what you do and the impact that you have not only on your consumers, but the workers, the environment, and it shines through. And I'm sure that investors who want to get along for this journey can see that as well. So thank you so much for coming in and joining me today. It's so lovely to have your beautiful family here. So I really appreciate it, and good luck with your capital raise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.